They call you cold. They whisper that you're heartless, distant, impossible to reach. But what if I told you that what they mistake for cruelty is actually your greatest strength? What if the very thing that makes people uncomfortable about you is the same quality that will lead you to extraordinary success and fulfillment? If you've ever been told you're too picky in relationships, too choosy with friends, or too selective about opportunities, then this video is going to change everything you thought you knew about yourself. Because today, we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood personality types in existence, the Sigma female. And here's the truth they don't want you to know. You're not heartless. You're selective. And that selectivity, it's about to become your superpower. Picture this scenario. You're at a social gathering, and while everyone else is frantically networking, collecting phone numbers, and making small talk with anyone who'll listen, you're standing back, observing. You're not antisocial, you're not shy, and you're certainly not heartless. You're doing something far more sophisticated. You're reading the room, analyzing energy, and making calculated decisions about where to invest your most precious resource, your attention. This is the Sigma female in her natural habitat. She's not the alpha who commands the room through dominance, nor is she the beta who follows the crowd. She exists in a category entirely her own, independent, self-sufficient, and maddeningly selective about everything in her life. But here's where it gets interesting. Society has a problem with selective women. We're taught from birth to be accommodating, to say yes, to be available to everyone who needs us. So when a woman shows up who doesn't play by these rules, who doesn't automatically open her heart to every person who shows interest, the world doesn't know what to do with her. You've probably heard it before. You know what your problem is? You're just too picky. You shoot down every person who shows interest. You barely have any close friends, and you turn down most social invitations. You're going to end up alone if you don't start being more open. But here's what they can't see. They can't see that you've spent years learning to recognize red flags, to identify energy vampires, to distinguish between genuine connection and surface-level attraction. You're not being picky for the sake of being difficult. You're being selective because you understand something most people don't. That the quality of your connections determines the quality of your life. This is the fundamental misunderstanding about Sigma females. The world sees selectivity and interprets it as coldness. They see boundaries and call it heartlessness. They see discernment and label it as impossible standards. But what they're really witnessing is a woman who has learned one of life's most valuable lessons. That saying no to the wrong things creates space for the right things. Think about it this way. If you had a limited amount of money to invest, would you throw it at every opportunity that came your way? Or would you research, analyze, and choose carefully? Of course, you'd be selective. Well, a Sigma female understands that her emotional energy, her time, and her attention are even more valuable than money. They're finite resources that, once spent, can never be recovered. The heartless woman gives her energy away carelessly, burns out, and becomes genuinely cold. The selective woman protects her energy, invests it wisely, and maintains her capacity for deep, meaningful connections with the people who truly matter. But there's another layer to this that most people miss. The Sigma female isn't just protecting her energy. She's curating her reality. Every person you allow into your inner circle influences your thoughts, your mood, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. When you're selective about who gets access to your mental and emotional space, you're not being elitist, you're being strategic about the life you're building. But why are Sigma females naturally selective? The answer lies in their psychological makeup, and it's far more fascinating than you might think. Research in personality psychology shows us that highly selective individuals often possess what's called high sensory processing sensitivity. This means they notice subtleties that others miss. The slight change in someone's tone when they're being dishonest. The energy shift in a room when someone with ulterior motives enters. The difference between genuine interest and manipulative charm. This heightened awareness isn't a burden, it's a gift, but it comes with a responsibility. When you can see through facades that fool everyone else, when you can sense inauthenticity from a mile away, when you can predict relationship patterns before they unfold, you naturally become more careful about who you let into your inner circle. There's also the factor of what psychologists call cognitive load theory. Every interaction, every relationship, every commitment requires mental and emotional processing power. Most people don't realize they have limits until they've exceeded them. Sigma females, however, are acutely aware of their capacity. They understand that maintaining 10 shallow friendships will leave them depleted, while nurturing 3 deep connections will energize them. This isn't antisocial behavior. It's intelligent resource management. It's the difference between a shotgun approach and a sniper's precision. Both have their place, but only one consistently hits the target that matters. The Sigma female has also learned something that takes most people decades to understand. That loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being disconnected from yourself. When you're selective about external connections, you create space for the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. This internal connection becomes the foundation for all other relationships, making them deeper, more authentic, and infinitely more satisfying. But there's something even deeper at play here. Sigma females often possess what researchers call pattern recognition intelligence. They can see how current behaviors predict future outcomes, how small character reveals indicate larger personality traits, and how initial interactions set the tone for entire relationships. This isn't mystical intuition. It's sophisticated pattern matching based on accumulated experience and keen observation. Recent research reveals something fascinating about highly selective individuals. Their brains show increased activity in areas responsible for long-term planning when evaluating relationships. They're not overthinking, they're processing compatibility factors, energy dynamics, and growth potential, while others focus on surface attraction. Studies also show that selective individuals have lower bonding hormones in casual situations, but dramatically higher levels in committed relationships. This means they don't bond indiscriminately, but when they do invest, their capacity for deep attachment far exceeds the average person. Now, let's talk about what happens when a Sigma female does choose to invest in someone. Because this is where the magic really happens, and it's something that completely contradicts the heartless narrative. When a Sigma female commits to a relationship, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, she doesn't just show up, she shows up fully. She brings an intensity and depth of connection that can be almost overwhelming to people who are used to surface-level interactions. She remembers details that others forget. She invests time in understanding your goals and dreams, and she offers support that goes far beyond what's expected. But here's the key. She does this because she's chosen you. Out of all the people she could invest in, all the relationships she could pursue, all the connections she could make, she has deliberately selected you as worthy of her energy. Do you understand how powerful that is? In a world where people spread themselves thin across hundreds of acquaintances and dozens of casual relationships, being chosen by someone who is genuinely selective carries weight. It means something. It's not random, it's not accidental, and it's not taken lightly. I know a Sigma female who has maintained the same core group of 5 friends for over 15 years. While her peers have cycled through friend groups, dealt with drama, and experienced the exhaustion of maintaining too many relationships, she has built something extraordinary. a support network of people who truly know her, understand her, and would move mountains for her because they know she would do the same for them. Her romantic relationships follow the same pattern. She might date less frequently than others, but when she does commit, it's with a depth and loyalty that's rare in today's world. She doesn't collect relationships like trophies. She builds them like masterpieces, with patience, intention, and artistry. This selective approach extends to professional relationships as well. The Sigma female doesn't network for the sake of networking. She doesn't collect business cards or connect with everyone on LinkedIn. Instead, she builds strategic relationships with people who align with her values and goals. And because she's selective, when she does recommend someone or collaborate on a project, her word carries significant weight. Consider the power of this approach. While others are managing dozens of superficial professional connections, she's building a smaller network of meaningful relationships that actually open doors and create opportunities. Quality over quantity isn't just a philosophy, it's a strategic advantage. But there's something even more profound happening here. When a Sigma female invests in you, she's not just offering friendship or partnership, she's offering you access to her carefully curated world. The other people in her circle, the opportunities she encounters, the insights she's gained, all of this becomes available to you because you've earned her trust and respect. But let's address the elephant in the room. Why does society have such a problem with selective women? Why is the same behavior that's praised in men often criticized when exhibited by women? The answer is rooted in centuries of conditioning that tells us women should be available, accommodating, and agreeable. We're supposed to be the nurturers, the caretakers, the ones who put everyone else's needs before our own. So when a woman shows up who doesn't automatically say yes to every request, who doesn't make herself available to every person who shows interest, who doesn't prioritize others' comfort over her own well-being, it challenges the very foundation of these expectations. Think about the language we use. A selective man is called discerning, high value, or having standards. A selective woman is called picky, difficult, or heartless. Same behavior, completely different interpretation. This double standard reveals more about societal biases than it does about the women being judged. There's also the fear factor. Selective people make others uncomfortable because they force them to question their own choices. When someone maintains high standards and gets results, it highlights the compromises others have made. When someone chooses quality over quantity and finds fulfillment, it makes those who chose quantity wonder if they're missing something. The truth is, being selective requires courage. It means facing criticism, enduring loneliness during the waiting periods, and trusting that the right people and opportunities will come along. It means resisting the pressure to settle, to lower your standards, or to accept less than you deserve simply because it's easier or more socially acceptable. But here's what the critics don't understand. The Sigma female isn't selective because she thinks she's better than everyone else. She's selective because she knows herself well enough to understand what works for her and what doesn't. She's selective because she's learned from experience that incompatible relationships drain energy that could be better invested elsewhere. She's selective because she values authenticity over acceptance. This cultural conditioning runs so deep that many Sigma females spend years doubting themselves, wondering if they really are too demanding, too difficult, too much. They watch other women who seem effortlessly social, who maintain large friend groups, who never seem to struggle with loneliness, and they wonder what's wrong with them. But here's the truth. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, defective, or damaged. You're operating from a different paradigm, one that prioritizes depth over breadth, quality over quantity, and authenticity over popularity. This paradigm isn't better or worse than others. It's simply different, and it requires different strategies for success and fulfillment. One of the most underestimated superpowers of the Sigma female is her ability to say no without guilt. This isn't about being rude. It's understanding that every yes to one thing is a no to something else. The Sigma female has learned that no is a complete sentence. She doesn't need to justify her boundaries to people who don't understand them. When you become comfortable saying no to the wrong things, you develop decision confidence. You trust your judgment and stop second-guessing yourself based on others' opinions. This creates a positive feedback loop. The more you honor your authentic preferences, the better your outcomes become. The better your outcomes, the more you trust your judgment. It's an upward spiral toward increasingly aligned choices and greater life satisfaction. One of the most powerful aspects of the Sigma female personality is her comfort with solitude. While others fear being alone, she has learned to thrive in her own company. This isn't because she's antisocial or because she doesn't value human connection. It's because she understands that the relationship you have with yourself sets the standard for every other relationship in your life. When you're comfortable being alone, you never enter relationships from a place of desperation or neediness. You don't stay in situations that don't serve you simply because you're afraid of being by yourself. You don't compromise your values or lower your standards because you're terrified of solitude. Instead, you approach relationships from a place of wholeness, offering your complete self rather than seeking someone to complete you. This changes everything. When you're not afraid of being alone, you make better decisions. You're not clouded by the fear of abandonment or the anxiety of social rejection. You can see situations clearly, trust your instincts, and act in your own best interest without being paralyzed by the possibility of ending up alone. The Sigma female has discovered that solitude isn't the opposite of connection. It's the foundation of authentic connection. In the quiet moments with herself, she processes experiences, clarifies her values, and develops the self-awareness that makes meaningful relationships possible. She uses solitude as a tool for growth, reflection, and recharging. But perhaps most importantly, her comfort with solitude sends a powerful message to others. It communicates that she doesn't need validation, approval, or constant attention to feel valuable. This self-sufficiency is incredibly attractive to the right people and naturally repels those who are looking for someone to fix, save, or control. The irony is that women who are most comfortable being alone often end up with the richest, most fulfilling relationships. Because they're not settling for just anyone to fill a void, they're free to wait for and recognize the people who truly add value to their lives. Solitude also provides something that constant social stimulation cannot: the space to develop your own thoughts, opinions, and creative insights. In our connected world, it's rare to find people who have spent significant time in reflection, contemplation, and inner exploration. The Sigma female, who has cultivated a rich inner life, brings depth and originality to her relationships that simply can't be found in those who are constantly seeking external validation and entertainment. So how do you know if you're a Sigma female who's been mislabeled as heartless? Let's explore some of the telltale signs that your selectivity is actually a strength, not a flaw. First, you find small talk exhausting, but deep conversations energize you. While others can chat about the weather or celebrity gossip for hours, you quickly lose interest in surface-level interactions. However, put you in a room with someone who wants to discuss philosophy, personal growth, meaningful goals, or authentic experiences, and you can talk for hours without feeling drained. You have a small circle of close friends rather than a large network of acquaintances. You might have hundreds of contacts in your phone, but only a handful of people you would call in a crisis. And those few people, they know they can count on you completely because you've chosen to invest in them fully. You take time to make decisions, especially about relationships. While others might jump into friendships or romantic relationships quickly, you prefer to observe, analyze, and gradually build trust. This isn't because you're paranoid or overly cautious. It's because you understand that the initial investment of time in getting to know someone properly saves years of mismatched expectations and disappointed hopes later. You're comfortable saying no without extensive explanations. When something doesn't align with your values, goals, or energy levels, you can decline politely, but firmly. You don't feel the need to justify your boundaries or apologize for having standards. You notice patterns in people's behavior that others miss. You can often predict how relationships will unfold based on early interactions because you pay attention to consistency between words and actions, how people treat others when they think no one is watching, and the energy they bring to different situations. You feel drained by group dynamics, where you have to perform or maintain a social persona. Large parties, networking events, or situations where you have to be on for extended periods leave you exhausted, while intimate gatherings with people who know and appreciate your authentic self leave you energized. You've been told you're intimidating by people who barely know you. This usually happens because your self-sufficiency and standards make others feel insecure about their own choices, not because you're actually doing anything intimidating. You prefer to observe before participating in new social situations. You like to understand the dynamics, identify the key players, and assess the energy before deciding how much of yourself to reveal or invest. You have strong intuitive reactions to people that usually prove accurate over time. You might meet someone and immediately sense that they're not genuine, only to have this confirmed weeks or months later, when others finally see what you saw from the beginning. Finally, you've learned that being selective doesn't mean being perfect. You don't expect perfection from others, but you do expect authenticity, respect, and genuine connection. You understand that everyone has flaws, but you distinguish between character flaws that indicate incompatibility and human imperfections that come with genuine people trying their best. Here's something most people don't realize. Selective living creates a compound effect over time. When you're selective about relationships, opportunities, and how you spend your time, the quality of your entire life improves exponentially. Each selective choice builds on the previous ones, creating momentum toward an increasingly aligned life. The energy you save by avoiding draining relationships can be invested in personal growth. The deep relationships you cultivate provide support and opportunities that casual acquaintances never could. This is why Sigma females often seem to have lucky lives, meaningful relationships, interesting opportunities, and success that appears effortless. But it's not luck. It's the natural result of years of selective choices, creating alignment with their authentic values and goals. Now that you understand the strength in your selectivity, how do you fully embrace this power without letting others' opinions shake your confidence? First, reframe the narrative in your own mind. Every time someone calls you picky, translate it to discerning. When they say you're too selective, hear "I have standards." When they suggest you're heartless, remind yourself that you're actually protecting your heart so you can give it fully to the right people. Understand that your selectivity is a filtering system, not a wall. You're not trying to keep everyone out. You're trying to let the right people in. There's a significant difference between being closed off and being discerning. A closed person shuts down all possibilities. A selective person creates space for the best possibilities. Practice articulating your standards clearly, both to yourself and others. When you can explain why you choose quality over quantity, why you prefer deep connections over numerous superficial ones, and why you believe in investing your energy wisely. You help others understand your perspective. You might not change everyone's mind, but you'll find the people who share your values and appreciate your approach. Remember that your selectivity serves others too. By maintaining high standards, you encourage the people around you to show up as their best selves. By refusing to enable poor behavior or accept less than authentic connection, you create an environment where genuine people can thrive. Your boundaries don't just protect you, they elevate everyone in your circle. Stop apologizing for your standards. You don't need to justify why you won't date someone who doesn't share your core values, why you won't maintain friendships with people who drain your energy, or why you won't commit to opportunities that don't align with your goals. Your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources, and you have every right to invest them wisely. Finally, trust the process. Selectivity often means longer periods of solitude, fewer options in the short term, and occasional loneliness. But it also means deeper connections, better aligned opportunities, and a life filled with people and experiences that truly matter to you. The waiting periods aren't empty spaces. They're opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and preparation for what's coming. As we wrap up this deep dive into the selective nature of the Sigma female, I want you to consider the impact you're creating. Every time you choose quality over quantity, authenticity over acceptance, you're not just improving your own life. You're modeling a different way of being for everyone around you. Your selectivity gives others permission to have standards. Your boundaries show others that it's okay to protect their energy. Your comfort with solitude demonstrates that being alone is not something to be feared. Remember, being selective isn't about being better than others. It's about being true to yourself. In a world that profits from your insecurity, that benefits when you doubt your standards, that thrives when you settle for less than you deserve, choosing to be selective is a radical act of self-love. It's a declaration that you know your worth, understand your needs, and trust your judgment. You're not heartless for having boundaries. You're not cold for being discerning. You're not impossible for knowing what you want. You're a Sigma female who has learned one of life's most valuable lessons: that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your choices, and selectivity is simply the art of making better choices. To everyone watching who has ever been called too picky, too selective, or too demanding, I want you to know that you're in excellent company. History is full of selective women who changed the world precisely because they refused to settle, refused to compromise their vision, and refused to accept anything less than extraordinary. Your selectivity isn't a flaw to be fixed. It's a strength to be celebrated. It's not a barrier to connection. It's a pathway to the connections that truly matter. And it's not something that makes you heartless. It's something that allows you to give your whole heart to the people and purposes that deserve it. If this resonates with you, I want to hear from you in the comments. Share your experiences with being misunderstood for your selectivity. Tell us about a time when your high standards led to something amazing. Let's build a community of Sigma females who support each other in maintaining their standards and trusting their instincts. And remember, in a world full of options, being selective isn't limiting, it's liberating. Because when you know what you're looking for, you'll recognize it when it arrives. And when you've prepared space in your life for the extraordinary, you won't be too busy with the mediocre to notice it. Stay selective, stay strong, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. You're not heartless, you're selective. And that's exactly as it should be. The world needs more people who understand the power of saying no to the wrong things so they can say yes to the right ones. The world needs more people who choose depth over breadth, quality over quantity, and authenticity over acceptance. You are that person. Embrace it, own it, and never apologize for it. Your selectivity is your superpower, And it's time the world recognized it for what it truly is. Not coldness, but wisdom. Not heartlessness, but heartfulness directed toward what truly matters. The future belongs to the selective, the discerning, the ones who dare to have standards in a world that often rewards mediocrity. You're not just living your life, you're showing others that there's a better way. And that, more than anything else, is the true power of the Sigma female.